he said, and get kicked out.
Hey guys, welcome to the As the Leader Grows podcast. I finally have my good friend Marie Cosgrove, who's got the most amazing story on the planet. You're going to be extremely blessed. We love helping business leaders build confidence, gain clarity, and create community. And our guest today, guys, is going to help you do all three at a level that you've probably never experienced. Marie is, are you 5 foot tall? Are you
maybe
5 foot? Maybe.
With heels?
I was going to say she is a mini stick of dynamite. Marie, welcome to the As the Leader Grows podcast, my friend.
Thank you. I'm honored to be here.
Hey, tell everybody, give everybody a real quick background on where you're at, what you've got going on, and how you're just dominating, conquering the world.
Thank you. Well, your audience probably doesn't care what I've done or where I've been. They want to know, how is it going to help me? So I'm going to share some of those things with you guys, and it's all learned through my experience. I was fired from a company because I did too well. I sold too much and I made too much money in commissions, and they said, you're making too much money. So they let me go. Then I started another company, got FDA clearance on my own product for helping patients or helping doctors diagnose heart conditions, risk for stroke, heart attack, diabetes. And I scaled that enough to be able to buy the company that fired me.
Well, I thought we was going to wait a little bit to get into the whole meat of the story. But basically what you're saying is you came into a company. They told you they weren't sure that you were cut out for sales. I remember you shared that because you and I met at Tony Watley's mastermind that we both spoke at in Cancun a couple of weeks ago.
Sure.
They told you probably wouldn't be cut out because you're a woman for sales.
Right.
And not only were you not just cut out, but you were actually the best salesperson they had. Immediately started selling more and making more than anybody else in the company. And they came to you and said what?
They said that I was making too much money. I shouldn't be making this kind of money because I didn't have the degree, which, by the way, I'm getting an honourary doctorate degree.
Come on, girl.
With Les Brown, both him and I are being honored together, which is really cool. But the point is they didn't see the value. What they looked at was a woman. And I think that I'm mostly conservative. Well, I am primarily conservative. I believe that we need to look at people's character, their values, what they bring to the table. We need to stop looking at gender both ways. I don't believe that women need to get promoted just because they're women, or that women need to become bosses just because they're women. Same thing with men. We need to look at the character, and they didn't do that. They looked at me as a woman. They looked at me as a failure. They looked at me as, you know what? We're doctors. We should be making this kind of money. You shouldn't. And instead of looking at how much money the company was making, they looked at how much money was going out. So they didn't have, I guess they didn't have the brains to be able to say, hey, yeah, all this money is going out. Yeah, we're sending out $100,000 worth of, checks every month. We're writing $100,000 worth of checks, sometimes more. That's what they were looking at. They weren't looking at the income coming in, because if they wrote me $100,000 check, they were bringing in over $1 million a month. So that was a failure on their end. And I was able to take that, and I knew what my qualifications were. I knew what I had done. So then I decided to start another company.
So hang on a minute. Slow. You got to slow down for my audience, because they don't know you like I know you. They haven't heard your story. So you're the number one salesperson in the company. They bring you in. Why did you think they were bringing you into a meeting? To give you a raise or to tell you how awesome you were doing?
Exactly. I was like, promotion. Yes. And I thought, this is awesome. I'm going to get, I thought, a partnership in the company, maybe like executive vice president, because I did so well, and being able to manage the entire sales team nationally. No, instead, I get a sheet of paper and they pass it across the room, across the table. I open it up, I look at it, and they were offering me $150,000 in salary per year, which, like, no, this is not going to work for me, because this is what I'm making a month, and I'm a single mom with 4 kids. And of course, corporations, they don't care. You have kids.
Right.
I understand that. It's none of your business what's going on. But for me, I couldn't afford it. And they said, well, you don't understand. You can't come back. If you don't take this offer, you can't come back. That's it. You're not coming back. You can't even attend the trainings for the systems you just sold. And those were pretty big accounts. That was University of Texas, Baylor, and I had to walk away because
so you walked away shocked.
Mhm.
It had to be just like, now what do I do? Single mom, 4 kids. You're crushing it. How did you get the guts and the moxie to go, I'm just going to start my own business?
Well, it wasn't easy. Of course, we all go through challenging times. Something bad happens, it's gonna hit you. So it did. It hit me in the gut hard. I felt like the knife went into my stomach and someone just twisted it. But I relied on some words my grandfather once shared with me, very wise words. And he said, vengeance belongs to God. You gotta forgive and you gotta move on. And it was hard. It was hard because I was like, okay, I just gotta move on. I gotta move on. I did cry. One of my good clients, Dr. Martin, I went to his office and I said, I just lost my job. And I was crying. He's like, this is the best day of your life. And he's laughing. I'm like, what is wrong with you? You're crazy. I've got 4 kids. I'm going to support them. And I've got all these medical bills. And, I was so depressed. And he says, no, you don't understand. This is the best day of your life. Start your own company.
Wow.
And I got to thinking that, well, what do you need that you don't have? So I started thinking, maybe what products can I distribute? And there was a product that didn't exist. And he says, it'd be really cool if we had a diagnostic tool that did this, this, and this, which was diagnosed for heart rate variability, diagnosed for risk of stroke, risk of heart attack, diabetes, and a bunch of other biomarkers. So I got his wish list. And then I called a meeting with my top 10 doctors, my top 10 clients that were the smartest in the industry. And I said, how would your patients benefit from this device? And they said, oh my gosh, that would be awesome. Can you pull it together? I said, I could do this. So I thought, yeah, I'll just, I heard you talking about proximity, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I thought, I worked for all these manufacturing companies. I've done very well. Hey, I'll just call them and, we'll get this thing going. So I called all the manufacturing companies I'd worked for. Hey, I want to start this company and I'm going to start developing this product and I'm going to hire some engineers. And they all silenced. So it's like, you're crazy. You're good at sales. Stick to what you're good at. You're not going to be able to pull this off.
You went from starting in sales and everybody told you weren't going to succeed. Then you did. Then you got fired. And now the people are saying, hey, you're good at sales. Just keep doing that.
Exactly. And so I said, no, I'm going to do this. So I couldn't find support from manufacturing because manufacturing is hard. It's not easy, especially when you're dealing with regulatory requirements and FDA and all kinds of stuff like that. So I was so passionate about it. And so I went ahead and got to work on it. I hired an engineer and software developers, and we got it going. And how I was able to fund it without VC, without any investors coming in and helping me out was I said, okay, you want me to sell? I'll sell for you. That I reinvested that money in starting my other company because I knew I could generate $1 million easy in sales. And so that's what I did. I started my own distribution company and I started working on the FDA stuff on the side project on this other deal. And it took me 2 years to get it done. And I didn't think it was going to get through because at that time, FDA was declining about 50% of the applications were being declined. Wow. It was during Obama era. Wow. And a lot of people said, you're crazy. I remember I approached one guy that was an owner of a manufacturing company in healthcare. And he says, it's too risky, Marie. If I invest, I said, well, you just invest your time. I'm putting in the money, just your time. He says, no. He says, my time is valuable. If I put in all of this time and it doesn't get approved, all that time is wasted. He says, but if you get it approved, I'll distribute it for you. And I'm like, okay. So I worked on it, and I'm not an engineer, so I don't know the engineering lingo. So I had to read all these engineering books because I was doing the paperwork myself. And poor FDA, I feel so bad for the people over there, because on the other side, I'm like, what in the world? And they'd send it back with a decline. And every time you have to update it, you have to send back mounds of paperwork, like a stack this big.
Yeah.
And I mean, shipping costs for the paperwork was in the thousands.
So
That's how
basically you
paperwork.
went through this process for 2 years with the FDA.
Yes, I went through the process with
and
FDA.
you get an acceptance.
And then finally, and how I got the acceptance, it's like, I remember thinking, okay, this is just not going to work. Maybe I just give up on this. And I got offered an incredible position with some guys with a manufacturing company, and it was paying great money. And I thought, well, maybe this is the way to go. So I accepted the job. I said, but let me tell you, I'm working on this FDA clearance. And if I get a call that I get it approved, I'm going to quit working for you guys because I got to run the company. They said, that's fine. Come, we've been trying to recruit you for ages. We want you to come work for us. So I went, and first day in training, I get a call from FDA, you're approved.
Wow.
And I just start jumping up and down, and they're like, why are you, what's wrong with you? I was like, Tom Cruise on the sofa with Oprah Winfrey. That was me, the crazy person jumping up and down.
What was that moment like, and all of that coming to fruition for you?
It was amazing. I was ecstatic. I was so happy. And then I said, I have the device, test you guys with it. And they said, yeah, we'll distribute it. They became one of my distributors. And the guy who I had offered 50% for his time because he's brilliant became a distributor. And he was generating $1 million every 2 months, $1 million. He was generating lots of money. And then he says, man, one day we're having dinner. He says, man, I could have owned half of this company. I would have been way richer. I said, yeah, but that's on you. You're the one that said, no, that's not on me. And it's too late now. I'm not.
Let me ask you this. Let me ask you this, Marie. We got to hang out a little bit when we were in Cancun, and you've got grit. Like, you just freaking got, like, you keep getting no's. You keep getting you're not qualified. You keep getting you're not talented enough. Like, what in you keeps you going and pushing through those obstacles and those moments in your career and in your dream and in your journey where you don't quit?
For me, it's my faith in God and my faith in Jesus Christ. Because for so long, I felt that I had no value. And I felt that everything that was told to me about you're worthless, you don't have any value, you can't contribute, I believed those lies. Because I was born to a mentally disabled single mom. She was in a car accident. She was in a coma for many months. She had to learn how to walk, talk, do everything all over again. During her recovery, she was raped. So I'm a product of rape. So growing up, I felt that I was an accident, that I didn't belong here. I felt that, just out of poverty. And I felt that, my life is useless. I can't contribute. I just felt like a worthless person. And then had gone, what?
No, I was going to say, but you turned all that adversity into your advantage.
I did. And that was when I became a Christian. Because when I became a Christian, I realized that Jesus Christ had died on the cross, not only for my sins, but the sins of the man who raped my mother. And I thought, wow, if he did that for her, he could forgive me. And I do have value because he died on the cross for me too. And I do have a father. And I started getting into the scriptures and reading, everywhere where it says, I am a child of God. And I thought, I am a child of God. I don't have an earthly father. My birth certificate is blank. On father, with his father, it's blank. And I know that I have a father in heaven. And that gives me the confidence that I do have value and that I do have something to contribute to the world. And that's my goal, is just to continue to serve others.
I love that. And so you get declined by everybody. FDA approves you. You get it immediately. You start. I mean, the money in the business is just skyrocketing. Fast forward, I don't know, 18 months or whatever, you get a call from your old company that fired you. And how did that call go?
Well, they called, one of the owners called and they said, hey, are you interested in investing? We see what you've done in the marketplace. Like my name was all over the place in the healthcare industry, in the space we were in.
Yeah.
So I get the call, I get my accountant and I say, let's go do a valuation. So we flew up to Ohio, we did an evaluation, and the accountant comes up to me, shows me the numbers during certain years, and they were incredible. And I thought, wow, this is amazing. And he says, no, you don't understand. You did over 80% of the sales during this time period.
Wow.
And that's when I said, well, I don't want to invest. I want to buy the company. So 6 months of negotiations, and then I was able to buy the majority of the shares.
One of the questions I asked you, we were all at dinner. I don't remember which night it was. We were all at dinner and I looked at you and I was like, what was that closing like? Do you remember that? Like,
yep.
You're sitting with the men who fired you. And now here you are buying the company from the guys who told you you weren't good enough to have a part in our company. Walk me through that.
Well, I didn't think about it. I really didn't think about it. I just thought this is a great opportunity and I'm going to turn this company around. And what they didn't understand is my passion for patients who had dizziness, concussion, traumatic brain injuries, because my mom had traumatic brain injury. So none of this vengeance or, oh, I came in to buy, none of that was even on my mind.
Yeah.
And it didn't happen until I was signing some paperwork and Dr. Scarpino looked at me and he says, no one will ever disrespect you again. And I said, well, what do you mean? And he says, well, you just bought the company that fired you. And I thought, oh, that's funny. And I just kind of laughed and, that was that. And I didn't think much of it, but that's what that was like.
But that is your personality. We got to spend some time together. That is your personality. Talk to me. Is it just your faith? Is it the way you were raised? How do you continue to turn adversity into advantage? And then literally the people who are the ones saying you're not good enough, it wasn't a spiteful transaction. You were, like you just said, you were excited. You said they didn't understand my passion for people who had dizziness and traumatic brain injuries. Walk us through, because the normal person is going to be at that closing with an FU look on their face, or I told you so look on your face. How did you do that?
Well, for me, it was, again, it goes back to my faith, realizing that God is in control, even though we can't control the situation around us. And sometimes there's chaos. And it really annoys me with motivational speakers who say, you can, just think positive and everything will be positive and you'll attract positive people. There's crazy people out in the world. And sometimes you can think all the positive thoughts you want. You can do the right things. And, you and I are having coffee at a cafe and we're thinking positive thoughts. And we're thinking how we're going to change the world, and some crazy person comes in with a gun. We didn't attract that. That was that person's choice because we all have free will. But we know that who we belong to. We know who our soul, who owns our soul. We know that. And we know that we're in the hands of God and God is in control and God's already judged that. God's already judged it. I don't have to worry about it because God's judged it and that's between them and God. And so it helps me have clarity. It helps me have control of my emotions, knowing that God's already judged it, knowing that despite the chaos around me, I'm okay because my trust is not in man. My trust is not in this guy that tried to screw me over. My trust is in God. That's
good. So you buy the company, turn everything around, profits soar. You're one of the top business women, CEO, owners of a company in your field in the world. And then all of a sudden you get this, I want to do public speaking. And some opportunities around. When you told me this story, I was like, there's no way. It just takes your story you just gave to another level. Talk about the first time you stepped out on a stage to speak in public.
It was with John Maxwell in front of 5,000 people, business people. And I was going to speak about how I bought the company that fired me. but I had a dream right before. And in my dream, God said, this is your story. This is your story. And it was a story about my mom and how I am a product of rape, and how basically the lesson in that is that out of adversity, sometimes the most beautiful experiences come out of adversity. Miracles come out of that. And life doesn't have to be perfect to be beautiful. Life can be beautiful, even though we have all of this adversity that comes at us all the time. And so, yeah, the first time, my knees were shaking. You know, they say, oh, your knees are knocking. I didn't know that was a real thing until I was up on stage. My knees were knocking, literally.
I mean, you're in front of you don't play small. You swing for the fence every time you get up. Your first time on stage was in front of 5,000 people. And then walk us through. I mean, you're one of the most sought after female speakers now in the entrepreneurial space that I know of. Like, walk us through the progression of all of that I mean, you've been in front of 15,000 people, 20,000 people. I mean, just an unbelievable, I mean, the unbelievableness of your story just continues past buying the company that fired you into what you're doing today. Walk us through that journey.
So it's not a journey I sought out. It sort of sought me out. And it really started, different people would come to me. So I don't know that I can credit just one person, but one of the biggest influencers called me and he says, Marie, I want to come meet you. And this was Les Brown. And I thought, okay. So I didn't think he'd come. I thought, okay, whatever. So I'm typing away on my computer. And then I see through the glass window, because my office is downstairs and it's all glass from top to bottom. And I see Les Brown drive up. I'm like, Brown, oh my God. It was like 5 o'clock. Everybody's gone. I open the door. He comes into my office and he says, you need to be speaking. You need to be sharing your story. And da, 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 da. And so we spoke till like midnight. I'm not kidding you. We were in my office till midnight. And it was so funny because when we were done, he says, you know, I don't smoke. I don't do drugs. I think I need a joint about now. But he was just kidding because we had so much fun. And I was able to share the stage with him in London several times, New York with the rock churches. So I've been able to share the stage with him all over Texas, New York, London. We've been to a lot of places together.
So what would you say to somebody out there who's an aspiring entrepreneur or an aspiring speaker? What would you say to them? What encouragement would you give them today?
Don't look at your story and how important your story is. Look at the impact your story will make for others. How is it going to change somebody's life? And why is that important? And what are they going to gain from it? And that's going to help you become a much better speaker.
I love that. What about business? Talk to me on the business side. Like, what do you say in our audience? We have female entrepreneurs. We have a lot of them. What would you say to entrepreneurs, or maybe even more specific, female entrepreneurs that have a dream to do something, I mean, huge and crazy like you did? I
would say get like you say, proximity. Surround yourself with people that are going to support you and support your dreams. And don't be afraid of criticism, but criticism that's going to help you, not knock you down, because there's good criticism and there's bad criticism. And you need to have the good criticism because you need someone to guide you as you walk the entrepreneurial journey. And there's people that are more experienced than you are. There's people that have walked the walk. And if you gain advice from them, you're not afraid to humble yourself and just say, you know what, I don't know this. What do you think? Maybe get a business coach, an entrepreneur coach, someone who's actually walked the walk, who's done it, and help them guide you, because none of us do it alone. I know I did it. I had Dr. Martin who helped me, and I would ask these doctors, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? There's no way I could have done it by myself. So I had an entire team. And so that's what you need. You need a team, and you need to be able to accept criticism.
So you got fired, bought the company that fired you. The first time you spoke on stage was in front of 5,000 people. Now you're pretty much on the regular, speaking between 5 to 15,000 people. And not that you're busy, in the midst of all of that, you wrote and published a book, which I see behind you back there.
Yes. I have it in my hand.
Oh, she's got one in her hand right there. Look at her.
Got it.
Talk about your book. What is it about? Who is it for? Who will it help?
This book is great for business owners, people in management, or if you want to aspire to get into management, if you want to climb up the ladder, this book is great. It's titled Essential Lessons from the Entrepreneur Who Bought the Company That Fired Her, Greater Fortune. It's available on Amazon. You can pretty much get it anywhere. And in the book, I not only share my story, but I share lessons. And that's the most important part, because at the end of each chapter, there's lessons. It's kind of like a mini workbook that to help you guide you towards your greater fortune.
Tell me about that journey of writing a book and publishing a book in the midst of everything else you were doing.
Oh, it's tough. It's not as easy as it seems.
No, it is not.
So
I did one.
yeah. So when I wrote my book, I would just jot ideas down, and then I would put them in a binder. And I had my whole table of contents. And you know me, I'm a mess, right? I'm a mess. So I was just all scattered. And so by the time I was done with my book, the table of contents was in a completely different order than what I thought I wanted it to be. And that helped me. I don't know if it would help you, but if you want to write a book, just start jotting things down. Just start, because an idea comes to you, write it down, put it in a binder, and then later you just organize it the way you want to organize it.
Right.
It doesn't have a lot of,
I was gonna say, it's just taking action.
Taking action. Yeah, a lot of people are afraid. It's like, oh, I need to have table contents perfect. I need to know what order. You don't need to know any of that stuff to get started.
Yeah, I love that. Best place for our readers to connect, our listeners to connect with you, Marie?
Social media at Resilient Expert, and on my website, mariecosgrove.com.
What would you say is the number one thing to our audience that they could do? We talk about confidence, clarity, and community. What's the number one thing our audience can do to build confidence?
Well, it's different for everybody. For me, it was faith. But if you don't have that, like my belief in God, knowing that I am a unique creation, science has already proven that you are unique. And we use the fingerprint, your voice box. No one has one like you. Your imprint is so unique to you, and you have value, you have purpose. And so that should give you enough confidence to know there is a purpose for you in this world. And when you look at yourself that way, instead of comparing yourself to others, you compare yourself to yourself.
Yes.
To try to continue to improve. That's going to help you build confidence, because a lot of times, and I even see it in the speaker world, well, this speaker's speaking over there, I'm not, why wasn't I invited? Don't do that. Don't even think that. Just think, where am I going to add value? How can I help? Maybe that audience wasn't for you. So always be thinking, how can I improve myself? And just compare yourself to yourself, not to others.
I love that. I love that. Comparison's a trap. If you compare yourself to people above you, you're going to feel inferior, or like you're not qualified or adequate to do what they do. And if you compare yourself with people below you, it's going to give you a false sense that you've actually arrived when you haven't. Like it's a lose-lose situation. Right. When you do that. That's 100% lose-lose situation. Best place for people to connect with you, Marie.
mariecosgrove.com. You can follow me on social media at Resilient Expert. Twitter, Facebook, Instagram.
Good. We did that twice, just so everybody on our listening to our podcast today can catch that. Guys, this has been the As the Leader Grows podcast, where we help business leaders build confidence, gain clarity, create community. My good friend Marie Cosgrove. Listen, hold that book up real quick. For those watching on video, go grab a copy of Greater Fortune. It is essential lessons from the entrepreneur who bought the company who fired her. My friend Marie. Marie, thank you, sweetheart, for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
Appreciate you.